There are some things in life you don't understand until they finally happen to you. You spend years walking through different seasons, meeting different people, saying goodbye to things you thought would last forever, and sometimes wondering if the person your heart has been waiting for even exists. I used to wonder about that. I wondered if somewhere in this big, complicated world, there was a woman who would understand the silence in me, someone I wouldn't have to pretend for, someone whose presence would feel less like a beginning and more like coming home, and then, somehow, there was you. I can't explain how many years it took for our paths to find each other. Maybe that's the beautiful thing about love. Sometimes it doesn't come when you demand it. It comes after life has taught you patience, after your heart has learned what it truly needs, after you've waited long enough to recognize something real when it finally stands in front of you. And when I look at you, I don't just see the woman in front of me. I see every lonely road that led me here, every goodbye that made me stronger. Every night I wondered if I was waiting for something that would never come, because now I know. I wasn't waiting for just anyone. I was waiting for you. Not a perfect woman, not a perfect love. But you, with your heart, your imperfections, your dreams, your fears, and all the little things that make you who you are. And maybe that's why, after everything, after all those years, my heart finally feels like it can stop searching. Because you're the woman I waited my whole life for. I spent a long time believing that maybe some people were simply meant to walk through life carrying unanswered questions in their hearts. You meet people, you lose people, you make promises that time quietly takes away, and after a while you stop asking whether love is still somewhere ahead of you. You become careful, you learn how to smile when things hurt, you learn how to sit alone without admitting how much you wish someone were sitting beside you, and somewhere in all those years, without even realizing it, I think I was waiting for you. Not waiting with a name in my mind or a face I could recognize, but waiting for a feeling I couldn't explain. I was waiting for the kind of person whose presence would make all the years before her suddenly make sense. I was waiting for someone I could look at and understand why every other road had ended where it did. And then there was you. Somehow, quietly, unexpectedly, there was you. I don't know if life had been preparing me for you, or if you had simply been the answer to a question my heart had been asking for years. But the moment I began to understand what you meant to me, something inside me became still. For the first time, I didn't feel like I needed to keep searching. I didn't feel like I had to look over the horizon and wonder if there was someone better, someone different, someone I hadn't met yet. I looked at you, and something deep inside me said, "This is her. This is the woman you have been trying to find without knowing you were looking." And I wish I could tell you that my life before you was empty, but that wouldn't be true. There were beautiful moments. There were lessons. There were people who came into my life and left behind pieces of wisdom I didn't understand until much later. There were days that made me laugh and days that nearly broke me. There were dreams that came true and dreams that disappeared right in front of me. But when I think about all of it now, I see something I couldn't see then. Every step was teaching me something about what I needed to recognize when you finally came into my life. Every disappointment was teaching me that love cannot be forced. Every lonely night was teaching me that being alone is better than giving your heart to something that doesn't know how to hold it. Every goodbye was making room for a hello I hadn't heard yet. And every time I thought I was falling behind in life, maybe I was actually just walking toward you at the only pace I was meant to walk. That's what I want you to understand. When I say I waited my whole life for you, I don't mean I spent every single day knowing that you were somewhere out there. I mean that my heart was becoming ready for you long before I knew you existed. I was becoming the person who could recognize your value. I was learning that real love isn't always loud. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or perfect words. Sometimes it comes softly. Sometimes it sits beside you when you don't know what to say. Sometimes it looks at the parts of you that you've spent years trying to hide and doesn't ask you to become someone else. And that is one of the things I found in you. With you, I don't feel like I have to perform. I don't feel like I have to pretend that I have everything figured out. I can be quiet and somehow you understand. I can be tired and you don't make me feel guilty for needing rest. I can have fears, and instead of making me feel weak for them, your presence makes them feel smaller. There is something about you that reaches places in me that words have never been able to reach. Maybe that's why loving you feels so different. It isn't about losing myself in you. It's about feeling more like myself when you're near. And after spending so much of life trying to understand who I was supposed to be, meeting someone who makes you feel safe enough to simply be yourself is something I will never take lightly. I know you're not perfect. I don't want you to be. I don't love some imaginary version of you that never makes mistakes, never gets frustrated, never has difficult days, never feels uncertain. I love you as a human being. I love the softness in you and the strength in you. I love the things that make you smile and the things that make you think too much. I love the way your heart carries stories that other people may never fully understand. I love that you have lived a life before me, that you have your own memories, your own wounds, your own dreams, your own reasons for becoming the woman standing in front of me today. Because all of it made you who you are, and somehow, after all the things that happened before either of us knew the other, we ended up here, you and me, in this moment, with this chance to choose something real. And I think that's what moves me the most. Out of all the people in this world, out of all the places we could have gone, all the decisions that could have changed everything, our lives crossed. Maybe it was chance, maybe it was timing, maybe it was something neither of us can explain, but I don't need to understand every mystery in order to be grateful for it. Some things are beautiful because you can't fully explain them. Like the first moment you realize someone's happiness matters to you in a way you didn't expect. Like the moment their voice can calm something inside you. Like the strange, beautiful feeling of missing someone, even when you were perfectly fine before they entered your life. You changed something in me without asking to, and I don't think you even realize how much. You made me look at the future differently. Before you, the future was just this distant thing, full of questions and uncertainty. But when I think of tomorrow now, I wonder what it would be like if you were there. I think about ordinary mornings, quiet evenings, long conversations, silly moments that nobody else would understand. I think about growing older and still finding new things to learn about you. I think about looking across a room years from now and feeling grateful that I never stopped believing there could be something deeper than temporary affection. Because I don't want a love that only survives when life is easy. I don't want to love you only when you're smiling, only when everything is beautiful, only when we agree on every little thing. I want the kind of love that stays present, the kind that listens, the kind that learns, the kind that says, we're both human, so let's be gentle with each other. I want to know what makes you feel safe. I want to know what makes you feel loved when you doubt yourself. I want to remember the little details you think nobody notices, the things you say casually, the dreams you mention once and then forget you ever told me. I want to be someone who pays attention, not because I have to, but because knowing you feels like discovering a world I never want to stop exploring. And maybe that's another reason I know you are different to me. I don't feel like I've reached the end of anything with you. I feel like I've finally found something worth taking the time to understand. I want to know you slowly, honestly, completely. Not just the version of you that the world gets to see, but the woman you are when nobody is watching. The woman you become when you're scared. The woman you become when you're excited about something. The woman who has bad days and doesn't know how to explain why. The woman who sometimes needs silence more than advice. The woman who may have spent parts of her own life wondering if she would ever be truly understood. And if you have ever felt that way, I want you to know that you don't have to earn understanding from me by becoming perfect. You don't have to compete for my attention by being someone you're not. You don't have to hide every scar before I can see your beauty. Some of the most beautiful things about a person are the things they learned to carry when nobody else knew they were hurting. I see strength in that. I see courage in the way you keep going. And I see something precious in the fact that, despite everything life may have taught you to fear, you still have the ability to love. Do you know how rare that is? To go through life, to be disappointed, to be misunderstood, to lose things you thought you couldn't live without, and still leave room in your heart for something real. That takes courage. Maybe more courage than people understand. And I think I recognize that courage in you because I know what it means to protect your heart for too long. You begin to tell yourself that you don't need anyone. You convince yourself that being independent means never letting anyone close enough to matter. But the truth is, strength isn't always about standing alone. Sometimes strength is allowing yourself to be seen. Sometimes strength is trusting again after life gave you reasons not to. Sometimes strength is saying, I'm still afraid, but I'm willing to take one step toward love anyway. And if you are willing to take that step with me, I promise I won't treat it like something small. I won't treat your heart like a place I can visit only when it is convenient. I won't take your presence for granted just because I become used to it. I know how easy it is for people to forget the miracle of having someone beside them. They get comfortable, they stop noticing, they stop listening, they assume there will always be more time, but I don't want to love you carelessly. I want to remember that time is precious. I want to remember that every conversation we have is a moment we will never get back. I want to remember that one day the things we think are ordinary may become the memories we miss the most. So if I hold your hand, I want to know I'm holding it while I can. If I hear you laugh, I want to actually listen instead of letting the moment pass unnoticed. If you're sitting beside me in silence, I want to understand that silence can be its own kind of intimacy. I don't need every moment with you to be dramatic to know that it matters. Sometimes the greatest love is found in the smallest things. A message asking if you got home safely, a hand reaching for yours without thinking. Quiet, are you okay? When something in your eyes seems different. A person remembering how you take your coffee. A person staying when there is nothing exciting happening. That's the kind of love I want with you. Something that feels real even when nobody is watching. Something that doesn't need an audience to prove that it exists. Something we build slowly through trust, patience, forgiveness, and the decision to keep showing up for each other. Because I didn't wait all this time just to find someone I could call mine. I waited for someone I could respect. Someone whose heart I would want to protect, not possess. Someone whose dreams I would want to support, not control. I want to love you in a way that leaves you free to be yourself. I want you to know that being loved doesn't mean being trapped. It means having someone beside you who says, go become everything you're capable of becoming. And if you ever look back, you'll find me here believing in you. That's what you are to me. Not a destination I reached and then stopped caring about. You are someone I want to keep choosing as life keeps changing. Because I know life will change us. We won't always be exactly who we are today. We'll learn things, we'll lose things, we'll grow, we'll change our minds, we'll face moments that test us. And I don't want to make you a promise that life will always be easy, because that wouldn't be honest. But I can tell you what I hope for. I hope that when life becomes heavy, we remember how to speak gently. I hope that when we don't understand each other, we choose to listen before we choose to walk away. I hope that when the world feels cold, we remember how to be a safe place for one another. I hope that years from now, after the excitement of the beginning has become something quieter and deeper, I can still look at you and feel the same gratitude I feel now. Maybe even more, because by then I will have known more of your story. I will have seen more seasons of your life. I will have watched you become and change and rise and fall and rise again. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about truly loving someone. You don't just love who they are in one moment. You give them the space to become, and you keep learning how to love the person they are becoming. So when I tell you that you're the woman I waited my whole life for, I want you to hear everything behind those words. I want you to hear the years I spent not knowing what was missing. I want you to hear the lessons I learned from every person who couldn't stay. I want you to hear the quiet nights when I wondered if love was really supposed to feel different from what I had known. I want you to hear the part of me that became tired of temporary things and still refused to completely give up on something real. Because somehow, through all of that, my heart kept moving forward. Even when I thought I was standing still, I was moving. Every day was bringing me closer to a moment I didn't know was waiting for me. Every road, even the painful ones, was leading somewhere. And maybe that somewhere was this moment where I can finally stand in front of you and say that I understand now why I had to wait. I understand why some doors closed. I understand why some people were only meant to be part of a chapter and not the whole story. I understand why rushing into the wrong arms would never have given me what patience eventually brought me. Because if I had found you before I was ready, maybe I wouldn't have known how to recognize you. If you had met me before I understood what love truly required, maybe I wouldn't have known how to hold something this meaningful with both hands. So perhaps the waiting wasn't empty time. Perhaps it was preparation. Perhaps all those years were not wasted. Perhaps they were teaching me how to arrive here with a heart that finally knows the difference between being lonely and being ready, between wanting someone and truly valuing someone, between being afraid of losing a person and being grateful for the chance to know them. And with you, I don't want fear to be the reason I stay. I want gratitude to be the reason. I want to wake up and choose you not because I am afraid of being alone, but because your presence adds something honest and beautiful to my life. I want to choose you when we're laughing and when we're quiet, when we understand each other perfectly, and when we have to work a little harder to find our way back to each other. I want to choose you in the ordinary moments, because I know ordinary moments are where real life happens. I want to choose you when nobody is applauding, when there are no perfect photographs, when love is simply two people trying their best to be kind in a difficult world. And if one day you ever look at yourself and wonder what I see in you, I hope you remember this. I see a woman worth waiting for. I see a woman whose heart is more valuable than any temporary excitement life could offer. I see someone who came into my life and made the past feel less like a collection of mistakes and more like a road, a long, unpredictable road that brought me here. I see someone I don't want to rush, someone I don't want to reduce to a beautiful moment that fades when the world changes. I see someone I want to know in all the seasons ahead, and maybe I won't always have the perfect words. Maybe there will be days when I look at you and feel more than language can carry, but I hope you can see it in the way I listen, in the way I remember, in the way I stay present, in the way I care about the things that matter to you, even when the rest of the world doesn't understand why they matter. Because love to me is not just saying beautiful things when the moment feels right. Love is attention, love is patience, love is learning how to apologize without letting pride stand in the way. Love is protecting the peace of someone who trusts you with their heart. Love is knowing that the person beside you is not responsible for healing every wound you brought from the past, but choosing to be gentle enough not to create unnecessary new ones. And that is what I want to give you. Not perfection, not a fantasy, something more difficult and more meaningful than that. I want to give you honesty, I want to give you effort, I want to give you a heart that keeps learning. I want to be the kind of man who doesn't disappear when things become complicated, who doesn't use silence as a weapon, who doesn't make you question your worth just to feel powerful. I want you to feel safe enough to tell me the truth, even when the truth is difficult. I want us to have the kind of connection where neither of us has to pretend that we are untouched by life. We can bring our history with us, acknowledge it, learn from it, and still create something new together. Because you don't have to erase your past for me. I don't want to erase mine for you. Everything we've lived through has brought us to this point, and when I look at you, I don't want to ask you to become someone else. I only want to keep discovering the woman you already are. The woman behind the smile, the woman behind the strength, the woman who may not always know how extraordinary she is because she has spent so much of her life simply trying to survive, trying to keep going, trying to be enough in a world that always seems to ask people for more. And if you ever forget how much you mean to me, I hope I can remind you. Not with empty promises, but with the way I treat you, with consistency, with respect, with the quiet kind of loyalty that doesn't need to announce itself. I want to be there for the little victories nobody else celebrates. I want to be there when you're tired of being strong. I want to see the dreams in your heart and ask you about them again, even years later. I want to know what scares you and what gives you hope. I want to know the version of you that existed before me, and I want to be present for the version of you that comes next. Because loving you feels, in some strange and beautiful way, like arriving somewhere I didn't know I had been traveling toward all along, and every part of me that once wondered whether the wait would ever make sense now looks at you and feels the answer in the quiet space between one heartbeat and the next, in the way your presence makes the world seem less lonely, in the way the future no longer feels like an empty distance, but a road I can imagine walking with you beside me, slowly, honestly, one day at a time, still learning, still listening, still reaching for your hand as we keep moving forward together, with all the years that brought us here, resting quietly behind us, and all the moments we have yet to live waiting somewhere ahead of us.